Karen's laugh was a chainsaw, slicing through the quiet of our lakeside community. She stood at the HOA meeting, her floral muumuu straining at the seams, declaring my Lake Milakia flood hazard like she'd just uncovered a national conspiracy. The room of 20 neighbors shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared challenge her. Karen, the self-appointed queen of Willow Creek, HOA, had a knack for turning petty complaints into crusades. This time, she'd set her sights on the small, serene lake behind my property, a haven my grandfather built decades ago. Her reasoning? A single rainy spring and her gut feeling that it might overflow. Never mind that the lake had stood for 50 years without issue, or that her million-dollar McMansion sat on a hill, untouched by even a puddle. The maw of her logic gaped wide. Drain the lake, save the neighborhood. I tried reasoning data from the county's flood maps, engineer reports I'd paid for out-of-pocket, but Karen waved them off, her chins wobbling with disdain. "You're no expert, Tom," she snapped, her voice dripping with the kind of superiority that made you want to scream. The HOA board, spineless as jellyfish, nodded along. By the next week, she'd hired a crew to breach the dam. No permit, no discussion. I came home to the sight of muddy water hemorrhaging out, my lake shrinking to a pathetic puddle, fish flopping in the mire. Karen stood there, clipboard in hand, smirking like she'd just saved the world. I wasn't just angry, I was livid. That lake wasn't just water, it was my grandfather's legacy, where I'd learned to fish, where my kids had splashed every summer. Karen didn't care. To her, it was a line item on her HOA checklist, another chance to flex her power. But she didn't know me. I'm a civil engineer, not some pushover she could bully with her fake authority. I spent sleepless nights poring over topographic maps, water flow models, and county regulations. Karen wanted to play dirty? I'd play smarter. The neighborhood was a tinderbox. My neighbors, Mark and Lisa, were as fed up as I was. Mark, a wiry guy who ran a landscaping business, had caught Karen's crew trespassing on his lot to access the dam. Lisa, a no-nonsense nurse, had her own run-ins with Karen's endless nitpicking fines for her kid's basketball hoop, complaints about her unkempt roses. We formed an unlikely trio, bound by a shared loathing for Karen's tyranny. Over beers in my garage, we hatched a plan. It wasn't just about saving the lake, it was about teaching Karen a lesson she'd never forget. The key was the drainage system. Karen's precious McMansion, along with a dozen other million-dollar homes, sat at the base of a gentle slope. My lake's overflow had always been channeled safely into a county storm drain, but Karen's dam breach had redirected the water into a low-lying ditch that ran perilously close to her cul-de-sac. I crunched the numbers. With a little adjustment, I could redirect the flow right back at her. Legally, the county's outdated stormwater plans gave me just enough wiggle room. I filed a permit to restore natural drainage patterns, citing the environmental damage Karen's crew had caused. The county, swamped with paperwork, rubber-stamped it. Step 1 was subtle. I hired a small crew, Mark's guys. Loyal and discreto reinforced the ditch, deepening it just enough to handle a surge. Step 2 was timing. A storm was rolling in, a big one, forecasted to dump 3 inches of rain in a single night. Karen, oblivious, was busy hosting her annual HOA gala, a garish affair with fairy lights and catered shrimp. Her cul-de-sac was packed with BMWs and Teslas, her neighbors sipping wine, oblivious to the gathering clouds. That night, as thunder rumbled, I watched from my porch. The rain came down in sheets, and the redirected ditch did its job. Water roared through, not toward the county drain, but straight into Karen's cul-de-sac. By midnight, her pristine lawn was a swamp, her driveway a river. Fancy cars sat axle-deep in muck, their alarms wailing like drowned cats. Karen, in a soaked muumuu, stood screaming at no one in particular as her gala guests fled, their loafers squelching. Mark and Lisa, watching from their own dry yards, shot me thumbs-ups across the street. The next morning, the neighborhood was a war zone. Karen's cul-de-sac looked like a post-apocalyptic movie set, mud caked on her marble fountain, her mailbox half submerged. She stormed to my house, face purple, accusing me of sabotage. I handed her the county permit, my face a mask of innocence. You drained the lake, Karen, I said calmly. I just followed the natural drainage patterns you disrupted. She sputtered, but the paperwork was ironclad. The county inspector, called out by her frantic complaints, confirmed it. Karen's crew had violated regulations by breaching the dam without a permit. She was fined $10,000 for environmental damage, and her HOA presidency was on thin ice. But the real blow came at the next HOA meeting. Word had spread. Neighbors who'd cowered under Karen's reign started speaking up. Lisa presented a petition, signed by half the community, demanding her resignation. Mark shared photos of the flooded cul-de-sac, his deadpan delivery earning chuckles. Karen tried to deflect, blaming me, the weather, even the county, but her bluster fell flat. The room had turned. She'd overplayed her hand, and now her empire was crumbling. I didn't gloat, not publicly. Privately, I cracked a beer with Mark and Lisa, watching the lake slowly refill as the county ordered repairs to the dam. It wasn't just about winning, it was about balance. Karen thought she could control everything, but nature, like justice, has a way of finding its course. My grandfather's lake was more than water, it was a reminder that some things outlast petty tyrants. Karen moved away 6 months later, her McMansion sold at a loss. Rumor has it she's terrorizing a new HOA in Florida. Good luck to them. The lesson wasn't just for Karen. It was for all of us. Power unchecked breeds resentment, but real community fights back. Not with fists, but with cunning, with unity, with the quiet strength of doing what's right. My lake sparkles again, and every ripple feels like a small victory. The end.